Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 9. So while we all, eagerly wait for the start of the final season of The Flash, as well as just to see how it all wraps up, but even then that's like a few months after it even premieres, and even just the premiere, that's still a few months away, we're all wondering what they're going to feature in those final 13 episodes of the show to finish it all off and this 9-season run. Some would say to make the show complete. Now, of course, people have their, personal expectations for who they do and don't want to see in the final season. I think that would have been brought up in my last video, if this is the video that's uploaded next. But some of those expectations are just based off, oh, I want this, rather than, oh, the show's actually set this person or persons up to actually appear on the show. And of course, I have my, expectations for just, I want this character to show up without, them actually being any sort of setup for them on the actual show. But of course, there are some characters that have been set up. Now, of course, heading into the later stages of a show's run, you don't want to be doing countless amount of setup for storylines or new characters, as you are just either not going to have enough time and space, or mainly episodes for that, or you should be focusing on who you already have. So heading into the final season of The Flash, it's no surprise that there has really only been one tease for a new character to appear at some point, potentially in this final season. Of course, we did get storyline teasers for this final season, but in regards to characters, there's really only been one. So during Barry's Season 8 search for Iris in the back half of last season, he spent some time in the Still Force alongside his daughter Nora, where he saw multiple visions of the past, the present, and the future. And it must be noted that these were like potential futures as well. Eric Wallace said that in an interview. Doesn't mean this is the flat out future, but it's a potential future that could be there. Now, during a montage or just various clipped scene of important figures in Barry's life, we caught glimpses and heard Barry speak of Cisco, Wells or Harry Wells, Wally West, as well as a mysterious person that was only identified by their first name of Max. Now, it's certainly possible that this, quote-unquote Max is just some, random dude, just some random guy who could be another person that Barry works with at, the Central City Police Department, or that Barry plays chess with when he is in his, 70s or something like that. And that's why Barry was, saw this person and recognized them through, the timeline and, while in the Still Force. But given that this is, well, the Flash, or the Flash, as some people say, the odds are much more likely that he'll turn out to be someone much more significant from Barry's future and from the comics, and probably a speedster as well. Now, if the comics are anything to really base all of this off, there's only one person this could be. That's Max Mercury, who was a Golden Age speedster, I think, that's probably the best way to say it, who was once known as Quicksilver, yeah, like the Marvel speedster. However, Max Mercury used that name of Quicksilver well before Marvel brought that character into their world. But Max's arrival in Central City could, finally allow the show to complete the Arrowverse version of the Flash family on screen. We have pretty much everyone else, but Max Mercury is the one that's missing. And of course, we might not get to see them all on screen together, but you could mark them off saying they've done this character, this character, this character, and all that. But they might do some timey-wimey stuff and make it possible that all those Flash family members could be on screen at the one time. And after all, this, mysterious Max person is a person that's, chucked in with some of Barry's, most close allies or closest allies, like Cisco, like Wells, like Wally West. In this vision, I mean, he must be someone that's pretty important in Barry's life going forward. You'd have to think so. Now, the one thing that needs to be stressed is the importance on focusing on what we have, which is something I quickly alluded to before. So that, of course, is mainly Barry. He's the main character. You expect this final season to 100% focus on him in majority of the areas. But also you have Iris and Caitlin, who have been there since season 1. We know that Joe as a character isn't going to be that prominent in the final season, so I'm sure when he's there, he'll get his, focus. But, for characters that are going to be there for the most part from episode 1 to episode 13 of this final season, mainly Barry, but also Iris and Caitlin, you expect them to be the ones that get the focus and time, spent with them to wrap them up properly. And then there's former characters like Cisco, for example, who I would be surprised if he didn't show up. And then maybe someone like Wells in the form of Timeless Wells getting wrap-ups as well. But with all that focus on what we have, that does not mean that guest characters like Max, for example, can't show up. So why would Max show up? Now, I guess there's probably two things people jump to. The first thing is just a villainous threat. That just makes sense. Usually when you have a new character show up that is meant to be someone, a lot of the times they show up just because there's something else happening. Does that mean that Max is warning them of the villainous threat? Maybe it's something from the future. Maybe, but also he could just show up at a convenient time and then this villainous threat comes in that Max can assist with. Now, I don't know if you'd use Max Mercury in like a 7-episode stretch. I think if Max does show up, it's like literally a 2 or 3 episode thing, sort of similar to how we had with Mina Darwan. I just couldn't see him being that long of a character just because, as I said before, the focus has to be on what we have. But would there be a reason to do this in the final season? I've seen people saying that for a couple of different things, and I think just completing the Flash family on screen is a good enough reason to bring Max Mercury in. Like, to me, that's enough, especially if he's only in there for a handful of episodes and not hogging all the screen time for a final season. Because a lot of people don't even know who Max Mercury is. A lot of people going into the show know who Kid Flash is, maybe even Bart Allen because they watch things like, you know, Young Justice. I don't know if Max Mercury was on Young Justice or not, but Max Mercury is maybe not obscure, but definitely not as known as those other speedsters I mentioned. So it's not like people were expecting him or dying to see him or even knew that that's what they were referring to when they said Max in that season 8 episode. But I think just bringing him in is a good enough reason to, you know, to finish off the Flash family. I think that's more than a good enough a reason. Like even bringing in Jesse Quick again and sort of reworking her a bit, I think would be a good enough reason as well, just to have that Flash family on screen. But in regards to the Flash family, why would they team up? Well, I mean, because they're buddies, but also, like, would there be a group of evil speedsters? We talked about this, like, maybe like a month or two ago, that, I can't remember what the reference was, but we're talking about, like, you know, if there was like a group of evil speedsters, then you could have them go up against the Flash family. I know we have like that new Captain Boomerang, and there's a possibility that there could be like a form of a new Rogues or something showing up this season potentially. But you wouldn't need that many speedsters. At most, you'd need 2. So maybe get a Barry and Max team up to take like some Rogues on, unless the Rogues became like really overpowered, like meta abilities or something like that. But even then, that might be a bit of a stretch to believe that you need all those speedsters to take on that group of Rogues. So I think like a group of evil speedsters, especially for a final season. I know I'm going back to what I said in that video, but having something like Zoom, Saboteur, Reverse Flash, or like chucking a Red Death, chucking a Godspeed, chucking, gosh, bring back the Rival if you need to. Having that type of group of evil speedsters go up against the Flash family would be an epic, epic story, an epic fight scene to go down in a final season of The Flash. Now, the big important one, I sort of alluded to this before, but didn't say it because I wanted to leave it to this point. But could Max have ties to the crystal in the future in that story there, which is most likely Cobalt Blue? Does that mean Max held the crystal? No, but he might know exactly what it is and know who has it or warn of it. Maybe he can't get near it because maybe it takes his speed. That's a very important thing to remember. In the comics, the whole blue flame talisman that attached to Cobalt Blue can take abilities and stuff like that. So maybe there's a point in the future where maybe it's either Bart or maybe Max or maybe Nora goes to the crystal and it takes their speed or starts to drain some of it and some of their power. So Max can't get near it, can't handle it, but he's able to warn Barry because maybe whoever gets it in the future is maybe trying to target Barry specifically. And that's really if we just go along the road that Max is associated with future events that we won't see take place on the show. You never know. Max could be from the 50s. Max could be a speedster that existed in the 50s and maybe just kept to himself. Maybe didn't do too much public stuff. Maybe he said, fought crime and everything like that in the 50s, but, no one knew of him as a Quicksilver or Max Mercury or whatever it is. So he could be from the past. Though I think if you're going to use him and just the way that it was sort of set up in that stillfall scene with Barry, he's probably from the future. I think maybe tying him to the crystal is a pretty good way to bring him in and include him in this final season. Now, in regards to Flash-centric characters, Max is really the last character that people expect to appear, or that, people have on their checklist. Okay, like, got all these characters that have appeared, there's one that hasn't, his name is Max Mercury. Of course, there would be some villains that the show hasn't used, or really obscure speedsters. I know there's Avery Ho and stuff like that, but technically Avery did appear, just not in Speedster form. But then again, maybe she appears in Speedster form in the final season, because it was confirmed that that was her that was working at Fast Track Labs. That's Avery Ho. So in regards to the checklist that a lot of people would have going into, the Flash show as a whole and it ending, Max Mercury would be probably most people's lists, the one that isn't checked off. So I think doing this allows that list to be complete, and for some, the show to be complete. And of course, like with the villains, not every show or movie series, like uses every villain at their disposal. I mean, look at the Batman movies. Like they use the same like 5 villains over and over again. So like, how many villains does Batman have? So you can say the same for Spider-Man as well. So they're never going to use everything. So it'd be a bit silly to expect them to. But I think not doing Max would maybe have people go, you were so close, you could have done it. So why didn't you? But as we all know, the show is filming at the moment. I think I saw on Grant Gustin's Instagram. And by the way, Grant's like ridiculously active. He just was never active before on Instagram. And now he's posting on his story all the time. Obviously, it's because of the final season. He's going to make the most of it and try and enjoy it as much as he can. So, and I guess like try and, you know, interact as much as possible as well. But I've noticed that. And I did say, I think it was like 2 days ago, probably from when this video goes up, that they started filming episode 2. So I'm sure we'll get more stuff that comes out as they get more and more done with it, or more and more deeper into the season. But yeah, it's a wait and see what else happens and what's revealed and what news comes out and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe some more set photos or just general casting information like we got with Captain Boomerang like late last week or whatever it was. But yeah, if anything comes out, I'll obviously talk about it in a video. So keep your eyes and ears open. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it, show support. Do you want to see Max Mercury in this season? How would you use him? Is he from the future? Is he from the past? Or is he from the present day? Where would you have him from? Would you want to see like Jesse Quick come back and do like a full-on Flash family thing potentially? Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.